Hi again, guys. So we're talking about brushless gimbals. As you can see, the title says brushless gimbals, ready to fly out the box or ready to go out the box. And I can tell you from my experience, even the ones that say that they are ready to go with a setup for a GoPro, for example, they're not. Okay. And what I mean by that is that you've got to use a GUI software to play around with the settings, your PID settings, power to the motor, that sort of stuff, to get the perfect setup that will balance your camera without any jitter or lag or any of those characteristics. Now, as far as the gimbal controller, if you can get something separate, I would say what I mean is the gimbal separate, the motors and the gimbal controller. I would recommend the Alex Moss BGC controller. It is by far superior to every other one that I have tried. Okay, and I've tried a lot of them. All right. There are other ones that are cheaper, and guess what? It's going to be of cheaper quality. Okay, doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's just not going to work as well. Okay, you can get it to work, but like I said, it's not going to work as well. On the one you see behind me, I've actually got the Martinez board, but I will be replacing that with the Alex Moss. Martinez works great as well. It's about half the price, if not less, depending which one you get. Quality control really is a big issue. If you don't get from the right place, don't go with the cheap ones because they're going to give you problems, and there's a very small price difference. So yeah, go with the Alex Moss. The gimbals, go with something that's tried and tested. Um, I think it'll be just easier. If you get a kit that comes with everything together, then obviously there are ones with Alex Moss boards on them. Alright, and like I said, a lot of them say ready to go out the box for whether it's a GoPro or if it's a larger gimbal for any X5, Sony, or whatever it is. And I can tell you, it is not ready to fly. Okay, I had one delivered. I tried it out. Instead of plugging it into the computer and going through the process with the GUI to get it set up perfectly, I just took it flying and take up, fly, and it seemed okay. And then all of a sudden, it just every once in a while it gets this sort of motion, and then you go sideways, and it also gets this wobbly motion, and then it just stops. Basically the gains were too low, okay, and it wasn't compensating well enough. I thought there was something wrong with it because initially they said no, it's ready to go out the box, and they had a video even of this gimbal working. Same thing with the Martinez board. I had a video of these guys flying, and it looks smooth with a GoPro. The other thing to consider is your gimbal. If your gimbals are different, then the settings need to be different. Let me show you something very quickly. This is it's not a very expensive gimbal, but what I want to show you here is the fact that you've got your motor on this side, which will move the pitch of the GoPro, and on this side you've got a bearing that's connected to this frame. So there's very little play, if any, that can happen over there. Okay. Now on the one in the back, let me just get it quickly. The one in the back, you can see that you've got your motor over here, but there's nothing on this side. Okay, which means that there's nothing supporting it. And this one was more prone to vibration and shaking because this is carbon fiber. It's not as sturdy as the other frame, even though it works well now, but the settings are completely different. If I had to plug that board into the other gimbal, the settings will just not work, and vice versa. So you've got to set it up for your board. You want a very sturdy gimbal, you want to isolate vibrations, and you want to set it up properly, going through the PIDs and the power and that sort of thing. If you have something that is identical to mine or someone else and they've got it working perfectly, then that's great. But if your motors are different, or if your gimbal is different, or if your board is different, or if your camera is different, then everything's going to be different, and you have to change those PID settings. It's not a very difficult process. You can find online plenty of articles that tell you how to do it, the whole process. Do a bit of research. Some don't give enough detail, some talk absolute rubbish, but there are some very good in-depth ones that tell you this is what you do. You start off with like this and then carry on like that. And I've been doing that for a very long time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now the latest thing, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about the ready to fly out the box, ready to go out the box. Is basically, don't assume it is. I did that and I got horrible video and it was a waste of time. So go through it. Yes, it takes time, and you're going to understand a lot of the websites now are actually putting a note at the bottom that this is not ready to go, and or it is not something, it's something that needs to be played with to get perfect. And they're basically saying, it's on you, you got to do it. Don't call us. We can't help you once we've solved it, unless it's faulty, of course, but that's a different story. So last thing I want to just talk about is the new third axis brushless gimbal for yaw. Now, as far as I've seen, only the Alex Moss has this, the board has this function of follow. Now what that means, let me show you with this gimbal. This doesn't have a third axis, but basically imagine that there was a motor here and it would turn this whole gimbal, or it will balance it. Okay, so initially what most boards do is, if you were to move your quadcopter or multi-rotor and you'd yaw it, then your gimbal will stay in place, as this one is. The Alex Moss has got a function called follow, where if the motion is very fast, or basically more than 5 degrees, so if it's very small like this, due to wind or any vibration like that, then it will stabilize it. But as soon as it gets to be more, and it just moves, then this will follow it, okay, very smoothly. So your gimbal will follow it. It'll be very smooth transition. And now a lot of the handheld gimbals, with that function are great, because if you say are doing some kind of video following somebody with whether it's a multi-rotor or just yourself, and you turn. When you turn a multi-rotor, and it depends on the multi-rotor, but usually it can have this sort of back and forth motion, because it's compensating. And if you look at quadcopters or anything that's not a tricopter, then it basically changes or yaws by changing the speed of all the motors and uses the inertia to turn. Now with tricopters, the only one that doesn't. If you've got the tail mechanism, then it'll just turn and yaw, and that's why I really love tricopters. But again, that yaw is still not necessarily going to be as smooth as with that extra setting. So we are going to look at third axis gimbal and the setup for that. We're going to do a video of that, and it'll be in conjunction with our tricopter project that I've spoken about in my previous videos, which we're working on at the moment for long range and long flight times FPV. And what the setup that we want to have is basically a 3-axis or a 2-axis, depending on how you want to set it up, gimbal for a GoPro, and then an extra board cam for your FPV. Alright, anyways, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, any suggestions, any help you guys might need, just leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe so you can check out all our latest projects and help sessions, anything like that. And soon we'll be bringing you also a lot of FPV footage with these gimbals, and also not with the gimbals. We'll be doing multi-rotors and planes. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.